So, Joe, let's talk about Israel-Gaza, first of all. You know, it is so many Americans have traditionally supported Israel. We've been Israel's strongest supporters since 1948. At the same time, younger voters, not just in West Virginia, but across the country, turning on Israel because what they're seeing in Gaza. What's the best way forward for America?
The best way forward, when I talk to people, I said, first of all, do you agree that Hamas is a terrorist organization? Do you understand the definition of a terrorist organization? When usually civilized countries have disagreements and go to war, there's the rules of war. And most countries use their war machines to protect their people. Terrorist organizations use their people to protect their war machines. And this is a horrible situation when there are women and children, what we're seeing, the carnage. And that is their mode of operandum. If they want a ceasefire, then release the hostages. That gives you all the negotiating power you need. Release all the hostages, demand a ceasefire, and sit down and see if you can work it out. If you can't, then we understand what will happen. But at least try. It's unreasonable for them, Hamas, to believe that there's going to be a ceasefire until they do something and come to the table. You know, they have not wanted a two-state solution. They have never come to the table to recognize a two-state solution.
How important is a two-state solution when you have Hamas, who has spent since 2005 working against it, since they've been in power, killing people that actually have talked about working with Jews. And you also have Netanyahu, who spent the past 10 years fighting against a two-state solution. How do we get there?
It's hard for any of us in America to put ourselves in that position. I think about West Virginia. If Ohio declared war on West Virginia, you know, and they continue to berate us and attack us and do things of that sort, what would you do? How would you defend that? What would cause them to stop? So you start thinking of something in your backyard. How would you settle it? Well, if a person has a commitment that they're going to destroy you no matter what, no matter where or when, that's their determination, they're not going to ease up. Then you're not going to sit down and have a good conversation and say, okay, this is how we're going to draw the peace lines. It has to be a willing solution by both. And if you have a terrorist organization who you're trying to negotiate with a civilized society, it just doesn't work. Unless the Arab world, the Muslim world steps forward. They're going to have to step forward in that part of the world. We cannot, as Americans, bring that peace. We can help negotiate a peace, but we can't bring it to them, and we can't maintain it unless they want it.
Yesterday, in the Oval Office, you had the leaders. It was basically everybody versus Mike Johnson, who's not exactly sure what he wants other than not to upset MTG and a couple of backbenchers in the House. Could you talk about the damage that Mike Johnson and Donald Trump and those who are opposing aid to Ukraine are inflicting on not only the people of Ukraine, but on Western democracy right now?
We were talking just a little bit before you came back on and discussing it's a moment of time. Every elected official has that moment of time when you ask yourself, what's my purpose of serving? Is my purpose of serving to protect myself, my political future, or do my job and stand tall? I've come to the conclusion we need term limits. I've come to that conclusion. I never had before, and I've come to it's the only way we're going to get any type of performance. And I come to the conclusion, Joe, because I was doing a town hall in southern West Virginia, and a lovely elderly lady stood up, and she was 10, 15 years ago, telling me why I should do it. And I was telling her why I thought, well, you'd lose a lot of experienced people and this and that. And she says, Joe, think about it. If we had term limits, maybe we get one good term out of you. I was sold. I had no comeback. I had no defense. She was correct, and more correct today. But Mike Johnson, you know, it's a moment of time. It's a moment in history for him to make a decision. What's my purpose of serving the good people of Louisiana? Why did I come here? To serve my country and take an oath of office to defend and protect the Constitution. Mike, you got a chance to rise up, to be a hero in the annals of history. To do it and do it the right way. And if they can't come together, this purity test, Joe, you know how that is. The purity test, you got to have 218 Democrats.
Right.
If you have a majority, they all got to vote. If 218 Democrats don't vote, we don't pass anything.
Right.
If 218 Republicans, those days are gone. The country's too divided, and right now you're going to have to build coalitions. If they get rid of the filibuster in the Senate, we're going to lose democracy as we know it, because it forces us to give them a piece of legislation that can weather the test of time. In the House, they always give us something hot. Paul Ryan and I were talking the other night. He says, Paul, we always expect to get something hot from you. And you always expect us to tone it down a little bit and give it back to you, something you can swallow and it'll last the test of time. That's what we are. And he can't come to that grips. And if you're going to have 5 or 10 people that's going to be the tail wagging the dog, I don't know if I'd want to be the head of the dog.
Yeah.
Senator, you walked in this morning. I don't know if it's the lilac tie or something. You're looking fresh.
Well, it's definitely
You're
my
looking,
neutral. It's just my neutrality, that's for sure.
Relaxed and happy, and talking of moments of time. Yeah. You and I had a conversation a while ago, but when you were planning what to do with your future, and you pointed to the unpopularity of the president, you pointed to the unpopularity of Donald Trump, and you were weighing at that point whether you would run yourself on a third-party ticket. You've decided not to. What was the thing that pushed you to make that decision? What was the final straw?
As you come down to it, I've said this, I love my country too much to ever support or vote for Donald Trump. I was very honest. I've known him, I've tried to work with him, and I just come to the conclusion that's going to be impossible. So with that, I've known Joe Biden for a long time. We've been friends, and I think Joe's been pushed too far to the left. I'm just trying to do everything I can to move him back a little bit to center left. And I think that's where 55 to 60% of the people. My daughter started a 501c4, which is Americans Together. We have found out going around the country, this is where the power is. They just don't know it. They don't know how to use it because there's nothing organized. They're either forced to go left or right. Pick your side. Well, there's only one side, the American side. There's not a Democrat or Republican side when it comes to defending the Constitution. And that's what we're trying to do and get people understanding that power. I came to the conclusion I never wanted to be a spoiler, and I think I said that from day one. I will never put myself to be a spoiler or a handicap at one side or the other. I wouldn't do that. And I just didn't feel comfortable. It was the right time to see a difference of what I could have a clear path forward to try to unite the country, other than being a spoiler or taking votes or harming one side or being accused of saying, well, you threw it this way, you threw it that way. That's not what I wanted to do. And I got to that point, I had to come to that conclusion.
So, Senator, the president is running against a challenger who has been impeached twice, facing 91 felony counts, talks about retribution, talks about terminating the Constitution. And the president of the United States is running even at best behind in a lot of polls to Donald Trump. What's the one most important thing he could do? If you were suddenly tomorrow made in charge of his campaign and he brought you in and said, Joe, I'm going to do exactly what you want me to do, what is the one thing you would tell him to do?
Well, I would tell him to take credit for what we have. He's not able to speak. I don't think you've ever heard. We did the IRA bill. We wrote that bill. And the IRA bill was done for a couple of reasons. First of all, energy security. We couldn't help our allies. We're producing more energy today than ever before, more oil, more gas. He can't speak about that because he's afraid of losing the far left. But on the same time, we're investing more in clean technology for the future than at any time in history. And that's all they talk about. So you're not going to get credit if you don't look at the whole ball of wax. So we're producing more energy today. We're producing more LNG to help our foreign allies so they don't have to go back to Russian oil. Russia weaponized energy. It's a fact. Energy is what it takes to have a secured country. If you're not energy dependent and your foreign supply chains are not reliable, you've got serious problems. So I'm just saying, and then also you never heard the White House talk about, we paid down $230 billion of debt. Out of a $690 billion bill, 230 went towards debt. Never talked about that, and debt is runaway. We've got to get control of our finances. And on top of that, health care. In West Virginia, the $35 for insulin helped tremendously. Putting a cap next year, there won't be a senior in Medicare that pays more than $2,000 out of pocket. Some of these drugs they're buying are $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a year. This is tremendous. You have to look at everything. It's a homogenous type of approach that we took, and the president's not getting credit. He signed the bill. It wouldn't have come law without him. We worked with them. They understood what was in the bill. But I can't get them and their climate people in Washington, at the White House. It's pushing him so far left that it's hard for them to take credit of what we're doing. We're producing more. We're helping more people around the world. We're doing it cleaner than anywhere in the world. And people that just want to leave it in the ground. They don't think we should be producing energy. And then you have Donald Trump saying, well, Joe Biden's administration is destroying the energy of our country. We are producing more energy than him or any other former administration has ever done.
Right.
And we're doing it better.
So let me ask you, Joe, about just how deeply dysfunctional Washington is, and your thoughts about having Republicans like James Langford. You know James, one of the most conservative.
He's the best of the best. James Langford is the best of the best, and I've said it.
He's phenomenal. One of the most conservative Republicans in the Senate from Oklahoma. He does a bill working with Democrats, the White House, everybody. Toughest border security bill ever.
Best I've ever seen.
And the House kills him.
And here's the thing, and I asked James, I said, James,
Republicans kill it. Trump kills it.
they look for something. The perfect is the enemy of the good. And if you're looking never to be for something, I said, if you want to retire in Washington and you want someone just drive you around, take care of you and everything as a congressperson or a senator, vote no. Just vote no. Be against everything because it wasn't good enough. And guess what? You don't have to explain being not good enough. You don't have to explain of what it could have done. You can explain of what it would have done. And that's what they do. And the perfect is always the enemy of the good. I was doubtful if my dear friend James would get to where he could agree on something. But he did a heck of a job. And we went through it. I talked to him, the asylum, border asylum. And I've said this, if President Biden and his administration is guilty as charged for the border that we have today, he did that in a humanitarian way, thinking the world is in flux. We're coming out of a pandemic. There's poor people being displaced around the world. Let's try to help some. That was his reasoning that I was told. And with that, I understand that. But then there became a time when we got overrun, and they didn't shut it down quick enough. He's come to the conclusion he's willing to do it now. And they're saying, well, it's only for politics. No. It's the real crime here is for my Republican colleagues and my good friends. I was never more disillusioned. And Kathy, that might have been one of the things when I saw what happened on that Sunday, when I saw my friends who demanded that we have border security before we gave any aid to anybody. And I agreed with them. I was one of the few Democrats that says they're right. We have to take care of our border if we're going to help other people's borders. So that's what we did. We had a bill. They finally came out with it. And then they said, I think I'm okay with that. And then, well, I have some concerns. And then by the third day, I can't vote for it. And walked away. I was never more disillusioned of saying, I don't think we can fix what's wrong in Washington. So that's why that was one of my big reasons I decided. And where we are right now at the border, for President Trump to say, hey, I don't think we should fix it right now because it's not good for my campaign. It's not good for my election.
It's unbelievable.
That's as guilty, if not worse, than what was done through trying to help people humanitarian and didn't stop it soon enough. So there's blame all the way around, and we can fix this. The United States of America is the only person who can fix the problems. We are the only country that can really screw up royally and come back and fix it because we have the people, we have the rule of law, we have the judiciary system that we have, and we have good people that want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
What we found out, Joe, the country is not as divided as Washington wants you to believe.
It's not.
The business model in Washington is to make you pick a side and divide you and say, okay, that's the enemy. Fight to your death now. That has never been our mode of operating.
It's just not the case. Hey,